Fantasy Professor here, back again with a brand new video. As you can see, I got a new hat, straight off of eBay. Shout out to whoever I bought it from on eBay. I got the Draftkings hat. You can see it says Draftkings up there, but that's besides the point. Let's get into the recap, and then we'll get into today's slate. As you can see, it's November 8th, and it's currently 12:30. So here are my projections for at this time. Hold on. X that out. Yeah. All right. So here's the recap. I was very high on Kemba Walker, and what happened? He dropped 51 fantasy points. So he's a great guy to have in your lineups every single night, especially if you target him against opposing point guards that are not good on defense. He's just an offensive machine, and what happened? He just destroyed Indiana's defense. Indiana's not at a good spot right now. They don't have a lot of chemistry, but I feel like later on, if they do get some chemistry, they can be very good offensively. Klay Thompson, 37. He finally snapped out of his shooting slump, as opposed to Stephen Curry. Oh, I should have put him in here because I recommended him, but I didn't. Klay Thompson, 37 fantasy points. He was just awful this entire season until this game, and I knew that he was going to have a coming-out party of sorts, especially against his Pelicans squad, but they were pretty competitive till the end. I really don't feel like the Warriors are true contenders for the championship. True favorites to win the championship, because I just don't like how they're playing defensively, and they almost lost to the Pelicans, except for that Stephen Curry three-point barrage. If that didn't happen, the Pelicans would have ended up winning that game, but as a result, Warriors still won. Next guy that did really good, Jimmy Butler, 43.25 fantasy points. He was unstoppable against the Orlando defense that couldn't have anyone, like I was suggesting in my yesterday's video. Nobody was going to stop Jimmy Butler, and he just demolished them. Bradley Beal, 37.5, similar total to Klay Thompson, and he was a little bit cheaper. So if you got Bradley Beal, congrats. You probably won some tournaments because he was at that 5K price range. Now that he exceeded his value finally, his price will go up to probably like 5.6, 5.7, something like that. James Harden, 61. He led his team to a win over the Washington Wizards. He was just phenomenal. Another 30, 15 point game. I don't think that's ever happened before, to be honest. Like, I've never seen a point guard be so good. But he had 8 turnovers in that game. That's what's going to happen to a guy that's carrying your whole team offensively. But he's just ridiculous right now. Another guy suggested Sabonis, 32 fantasy points. At that 3.6K price range, he exceeded his value 7 to 8 times, I would say. And 32 fantasy points, I told you, if you listen to me, I'm figuring out guys that I feel like will go off at that low price. And lo and behold, Sabonis, 32 fantasy points. Chris Paul, 52 fantasy points. They destroyed the Detroit Pistons yesterday. It was awful. If you watch that game, Detroit had nothing offensively. I think they only scored like 32 points in the half, which is ridiculous. The Clippers right now have the number 1 defense in the league. I know it's surprising. I thought it would be the Spurs or the Utah Jazz, but the Clippers are locking it down defensively. So shout out to them. Gordon Hayward, 36.75 fantasy points. I knew he was a great target against the Philadelphia defense, especially going up against Robert Covington and a few other wings. He's a great spot, and I feel like every single game, as he gets acclimated to the NBA game, coming off an injury, he's going to get very good. And he's definitely that 7 to 8K range player, sort of like a Carmelo Anthony at the small forward position. All right, let's get into today's games, starting off with the Atlanta Hawks and the Cleveland Cavaliers. 2-9 over-under. A few guys I like in this game. Dennis Schroeder, 6,100, going up against Kyrie Irving's defense. Now, I know that Schroeder is also a horrible defender, so on the flip side, I have Kyrie, but Dennis Schroeder is the starting point guard. They just got rid of Jeff Teague, and he needs to lead his team to some victories. They're doing very well, but this would prove something, because in the past 2 playoffs, Atlanta's been swept by the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I feel like this is a good spot for them to get some payback, maybe, but I still feel like Cleveland's going to get this win tonight. Tim Hardaway Jr., 3,600. Now, Kyle Korver is not playing this game, which is going to open up minutes to Tim Hardaway Jr. and Thabo Sefolosha at that starting 2-guard spot. So whoever's starting, I like Hardaway Jr. as the higher upside. Sefolosha does the intangibles on the defensive end, but Tim Hardaway, once he gets hot, he's just like a J.R. Smith. He'll just rain down threes. Paul Millsap, 7,900. going up against Kevin Love's defense. I like that matchup. I like picking matchups against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and that's definitely one I would spot. Kent Bazemore as well, 5,000. Now, he had a coming out party of sorts last game, and at 5,000, he might be risky, but going up against J.R. Smith's defense at that shooting guard position, he's going to be very good. And I feel like he's going to easily exceed his value tonight, especially if it's a blowout and he gets garbage time. On the flip side, you got Kyrie Irving, 7,400, going up against Dennis Schroeder's horrible defense. I feel like the big three on Cleveland's side will all have 50 points tonight. That's why I picked them. Kevin Love, 7,300, and LeBron, 9,900. They're as safe as a bet as you can get. If you like doing cash games, all three of those, stack them together. They tend to win you a lot of GPPs as well, but in cash, they're very, very safe. And all three of them can get you 50 fantasy points just right off the bat. All right, so that's done for that game. Next game, Minnesota and Brooklyn. I like this game a lot. Kris Dunn, 5,400, going up against Isaiah Whitehead, who's a rookie as well. But as we know, Kris Dunn has the higher fantasy upside, as you can see by his price. Kris Dunn is going to smoke Isaiah Whitehead. That's my prediction. Minnesota is going to come in and destroy them. Zach LaVine, 6,300. He's due for another hot shooting game. If you looked earlier in the season, he had that 31 actual point game. This is a great spot for him going up against the likes of Sean Kilpatrick, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Joe Harris. So this is a great spot for him. 6,300. I like that price tag a lot. Gorgie Jang, 6,500, going up against Trevor Booker, Justin Hamilton, Brook Lopez. None of those guys scare me. I like targeting guys against the Brooklyn Nets specifically because they have no guys to stop any of these other teams. With that being said, Gorgie Jang, 6,500. Now, I know he hasn't been doing well in his games. If you go back to his logs, he hasn't hit that 20 fantasy point mark in the past 2 games. But this is a great bounce back spot for him. So if you like bounce backs, and recency bias is going to have him at a low ownership tonight, just going off the past logs. So if you like high upside guys at the power forward / center position, Gorgie Jang is definitely a guy to look for. Karl-Anthony Towns, 8,500. He had like 30 actual points last game and a few other intangibles. He went off last game. So if you like that recency bias, Towns, I feel like will be high owned. But going against Brook Lopez, there's no question why he's at that 8,500 price tag. Go ahead, put him into your lineups if you want to take flyers on him and whatever. On the flip side, you got Trevor Booker, 4,900, going up against Gorgie Jang and Karl-Anthony Towns. Now, someone's going to need to score on the front court for the Brooklyn Nets for them to stay in this game. Trevor Booker is a great spot, 4,900. He's going to get. He's that hustle guy and high energy. So if you like that, 4,900 is a great price for him. Isaiah Whitehead, 3,900, going up against Kris Dunn. Now, I know Isaiah Whitehead didn't do as good in the previous game. He only had 19 fantasy points. But at 3,900, there's only one other point guard on that roster, and it's really Randy Foye. But yeah, at 3,000. So if you want to go for Randy Foye, the bare minimum, they want to get him acclimated since he just started playing because he's coming off that injury. But at 3,000, he's at the bare minimum, and he is very, very high upside, given the minutes and production that he can make. Another guy I like on the Brooklyn side is Sean Kilpatrick, 5,400. He's just been lighting it up. He's had almost 40 fantasy points past 2 games, and he's at a great, great spot. Going against Zach LaVine, Shabazz Muhammad, and a few other these weak shooting guards defensively. On third game of the night, you got Denver and Memphis Grizzlies, 201 over-under. Emmanuel Mudiay, 6,000. He had 24 points in that first quarter against Boston. I really, really liked him, and I was going to pick him, and I didn't, and I ended up losing my GPP because I didn't have him in my lineup when he went off, and he was at very, very low ownership. I feel like recency bias is going to say that he's going to be higher owned tonight just because of what he did in his production the past game. But he's very, very safe, and he has that immense, immense upside, especially if Mike Conley is not playing in this game. Nobody's going to be able to defend Mudiay. As you saw in Boston, Isaiah Thomas, Avery Bradley, who's one of the best two-way guards, he couldn't stop Emmanuel Mudiay. And Emmanuel Mudiay is only in his second year. So imagine in his second year what he's capable of doing. I feel like he's a very, very highly rated player, and he's very underrated, coming off that abysmal rookie season. Another guy I like on the wing, Danilo Gallinari, 5,800. As you guys know, I talk about minutes a lot, and minutes lead to more production. He played 41 minutes in that last game. Gallinari is one of the best international prospects that the NBA has had in quite some time. I like him a lot at 5,800, going up against Chandler Parsons, who just played one game, James Ennis, and a few other these wings. Nobody's going to stop Gallinari. So 5,800, he's in a great price. If not for Moody going off, I could definitely see Gallinari going off. All right, the last guy on Denver side, Jusuf Nurkic, 6,300. Marcus Gasol is not 100% defensively, and it's apparent in his speed and how he's running down the floor. And he's been very wary about his foot since he broke it recently. 6,300 is a great price for Nurkic. He's had two relatively down games, so I feel like there's a nice bounce back spot for him. If you want to use Jokic, go right ahead, but I feel like Nurkic has the higher upside for tonight. Next game, Phoenix and Portland, 215 over-under, the highest over-under of the night. That means that there's going to be a lot of high scoring. There's going to be a lot of fantasy points to go around. Now, Eric Bledsoe, 6,700. He didn't have the best game going up against the Los Angeles Lakers, but this is a great bounce-back spot going up against Damian Lillard tonight. So Damian Lillard, as we know, is not the best defender. So if you wanted to target Portland's offense, 6,700 is a great spot for Bledsoe. Devin Booker, 6,600. Along with McCollum, they both dropped 50 fantasy point games. Going up against each other should be very, very interesting. So I like pairing. In one lineup, I paired both of them because you can put Devin Booker in the small forward position, and you can put McCollum in the point guard position as well. So you can play around with it on DK, and you can definitely get them both in your lineups. They have that very, very high upside and that very, very high floor. So they're in line for a lot of minutes as well. So nobody's taking time away from these guys. Another guy I like on Phoenix, TJ Warren, 6,900. Again, he's been one of the most consistent wings in the association. At 6,900, I watched that whole Lakers game, and he's their go-to scorer, and PJ Tucker's never going to get that starting small forward spot again. You know, he could earn that power forward spot over Jared Dudley, but TJ Warren has locked in that small forward spot. So I have no problem using him in any of my lineups tonight. On the flip side, Damian Lillard, 9,100, going up against Eric Bledsoe's non-existent defense. Damian Lillard should smoke him, and that high price tag says a lot about his production. He's been relatively on fire recently. He's hitting threes from the logo, the half-court logo recently. If you go on House of Highlights on Instagram, they have videos of him just draining threes from that. Almost half court, and it's insane. But given his production at 9,100, he has the minutes to go along with it, and he's relatively safe for tonight. CJ McCollum, 7,100, like I said, with Devin Booker. He's coming off that 50-plus fantasy point game against the Dallas Mavericks. This is a different situation against Phoenix Suns, who are one of the worst defensive teams in the entire league. So I like McCollum's spot here tonight, going up against Devin Booker, the 19-year-old superstar to be, per se. They're both extremely good on offense. They both do zero defense. So that's why I like pairing them up together in one lineup. Another guy to consider, nobody's going to really be on, Mo Harkless, 4,500. He had 37 fantasy points in that previous game. I didn't have him in because I don't know the situation with Harkless, Evan Turner, Aminu, all those other wings. But 4,500, there's a reason why he's starting, and that was finally his breakout game. So 4,500 is a great spot for Maurice Harkless, and yeah, that covers that game. Next game of the night, you got New Orleans and Sacramento. 202 over under. A few guys I like in this game. Langston Galloway, 3,400, going up against Ty Lawson. Who else is on? Jordan Farmer got waived. So Garrett Temple as well. But at 3,400, I saw him yesterday versus Golden State when he was at that bare minimum of 3,000. He had 20 fantasy points in that game. I don't know how he'll do in the back-to-back, but I feel like Tim Frazier is going to get a few less minutes because it's a back-to-back, which is going to lead to Langston Galloway getting more time and production as well. Buddy Hield, 3,800, going up against Aaron Afflalo, who's non-existent on defense. Hield should have a great game from 3, especially. Eton Moore, 4,100 as well. He should have a great game from 3. He's definitely a starting two-guard caliber, and I feel like he's justified his price when he's starting over Buddy Hield as well. On the flip side, you got Darren Collison coming back from that 8-game suspension. 6,200, he has a very, very high upside, and I feel like Sacramento is going to play him very fast early so he can get acclimated to the whole team's brand new system as well. Rudy Gay, 6,800, going up against, who's their small forward? Solomon Hill, horrible defender. Rudy Gay's at a great spot at 6,800. He has that 30 fantasy point floor with that 50 or so fantasy point upside. Aaron Afflalo, 3,800. Now, he's had a lot of down games as of recently, but he's a guy that I found running all my lineups tonight. He is very, very safe, and I feel like he's going to go off tonight. That's just my prediction. I feel like I don't know who's going to win this game. New Orleans is coming off a back-to-back, but Aaron Afflalo should keep them relatively close. If the game was to stay close. At 3,800, he should have, I feel like he's going to have a 30 fantasy point night. I don't know, but I'm just going to go out there and say it. He's been having horrible games as of late, and, he's not getting that playing time, but the coach said they want to give him more touches, which is going to lead to more production as well. Now, my favorite game on the slate, the Dallas and Lakers game, I feel like the Lakers are playoff contenders. I know it's hard to say. As of right now, at 4-3, I looked at their power rankings throughout the whole NBA, and they're currently 12th, and they're middle of the pack on both sides of the floor. They are very, very good, and Luke Walton is the best coach for them as of right now. So with that being said, Dallas and Los Angeles Lakers, 205 over/under. If you guys are liking this game, as you guys know, I always talk about Harrison Barnes and how good he is and how vital he is to the Mavericks team. At 6,700, he's going to get you that 30 fantasy point floor with that high upside, as you saw last game when he had 50 fantasy point. That's going to be his ceiling. I don't think he'll get any higher than that. But going against the Los Angeles Lakers, who have Luol Deng, who's pretty bad on defense. Who else? Brandon Ingram, a few other wings. But I like Harrison Barnes' spot. He's their number one option on offense, especially with Dirk Nowitzki out. Dirk's 39 years old. He's not going to keep on carrying his team forever, which means that Harrison Barnes is the perfect spot tonight to go off against the Lakers. Wesley Matthews, 5,000, going up against Lou Williams, Jordan Clarkson. Who's their other? I don't know their other shooting guard. I forgot. But 5,000, he's at a great spot, and he's going to play a lot of minutes tonight. JJ Barea, 6,000. D'Angelo Russell, as we know, one of the worst defenders at the point guard spot. So at 6,000, he has that solid 25 fantasy point floor with that high upside of 40 fantasy points for tonight, especially with Darren Williams out as well. If he's in, that changes my whole outlook on Barea because his price is very, very high, as you see, at 6,000. On the flip side, you got D'Angelo Russell, 6,500, going up against JJ Barea, who's also a bad defender. There's a lot of bad point guard defense out there. If I had to pick one of the better defenders, it would be Emmanuel Mudiay and Kris Dunn. They're more defensive-minded point guards as well. 6,500 is a great price, especially at home, and they've been rolling at home. They have one of the best home records in the NBA currently. Julius Randle, 6,700. Now, I told you guys Luke Walton is trying to turn Julius Randle into the next Draymond Green, which is going to be in line for more time in production, and there's going to be more assists, rebounds, steals, points. He's going to be that all-around type of player, and he's been very, very well, and he's proven it. If you saw that matchup versus Julius Randle and Tyson Chandler, Julius Randle was getting into a little bit of fight with Tyson Chandler, so they went one-on-one, and instead of Julius Randle taking it up and taking the shot, he just flipped it past to Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson wets a three. So he's become more of a team-oriented player, so that's why I like him a lot tonight. Lou Williams, 4,700. He's just been lighting up this stat sheet, especially in the scoring column. He's consistently put in these 20-point actual point games. So with that being said, I feel like he has a solid 20 fantasy point floor tonight with the high upside of 30 to 35 fantasy points tonight. I feel like he's going to easily exceed his value tonight. That's my prediction. So yeah, there you have it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like the hat and you like my videos, please stay tuned for more. And thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, and be sure to watch every single day for brand new videos. See you guys later.